The first slide I have here is our part of our budget. This is one of two slides. We just passed our fiscal budget for next year, and it wasn't that difficult to do because we have such a wonderful staff headed by Ron Bowman, our city manager. Because of him and his staff members, this project is not as difficult or time-consuming as it used to be. They've really done a remarkable job to make it easier for those of us in decision-making capacities to go over and understand the presentations and the money and to give it its blessings. Part of this, on the general fund, we have $11 million, and that's kind of a generic term for general funds. But part of that is our Parks Department, and I'm going to talk about our Parks Department a little bit later on. But we're increasing our funding for our Parks Department. We're also increasing the amount of money that we're paying down our debt service. Now, I don't know how you work in your business or at your home, but I don't like to pay interest on money that's borrowed. I like to pay that interest off as quickly as possible. And that's what we're doing this year. We're focusing on paying down our debt and saving some taxpayer money by saving on the interest on our loans. We also have $9 million you see in the bottom here for our capital projects fund. That was our quality of life bonds that we passed 2 years ago. Last year we put in $11 million. This year it's the $9 million, and this is the balance of that bond that was passed by the citizens 2 years ago. And I'll be going into what we'll be spending some of that $9 million on. But if you look at that, you say that's quite a lot of money, $24.9 for a general fund. That's actually $500,000 less than what we had last year. The $9 million puts us over the top. So we're actually $8.5 million more than last year, but because of the $9 million of our bond funds here, we're actually $500,000 less than what we really are. Go to our next slide. This is the utility funds. As you probably all know, we manage our own utilities. We have the 4 utilities. In each of those, we have a separate fund, and we try not to borrow against that fund. We try to make these funds stand alone, pay for themselves, and any money that we make on these funds, any profits, goes back into those funds for the maintenance and operation and improvements that we need to keep these utilities going. The 28.4 is about what we had last year in the budget, so this is not any big improvement, big change from last year. We know that property taxes have gone up. Mine certainly have gone up like yours has. And because of that, we didn't have to increase any of our tax rate for this coming year. Now, I know you'll all be paying more in property tax just like I am. But if you recall 2 years ago when we put out these bonds, we told the public that if you should pass these bonds, the city, in order to pay these off, will probably have to raise taxes, but we promise we will not raise the taxes more than 6 cents. We haven't raised taxes at all in 2 years. So because of the increased valuation that we'll be getting from the appraisal district, we don't have to raise taxes at all again this year, even though we are all paying more taxes because our property values have all gone up in Kendall County. Our total budget then is $53,400,000, and that's just about where we should be for a community of our size and what we're doing and what we're managing, especially with our utilities. As you probably know, a lot of communities, a lot of cities in Texas do not operate their own utilities. This is a separate function from city government, and all the elected officials are on the boards of directors, if you will, for our utilities. We'll be adding one more utility to our growing funds, and I'll get to that one in a little bit more in our presentation. Now, I don't know how you folks do yours, but in my home, I watch the books pretty carefully on what we spend our money on. And we're doing that here for your tax dollars to making sure we're doing the very best we can with the tax dollars that we are held responsible to. Part of my job as the mayor is to make sure this city is ready for our next generation, the generation after that, and even the next generation after that. In order to do that, we need to make sure that our infrastructure is kept up to date and expanding so that we can accommodate whatever the city is going to do in the future, whether we grow anymore, whether we expand our borders more, or we have more businesses come in. We have to make sure our infrastructure is in place and ready for anything that comes about. All of our utilities are going to be seeing an increase into what we are doing for expansion, for improvement, and in some cases even starting a new infrastructure. The first one is our electric department. We have a new substation going up in Menger Springs. This is just behind the old Jennings Anderson Ford dealership. This is a substation that will provide additional backup resource to the city of Boerne. As you may know, we only have the one electrical station, and if something should happen to that, we are totally blacked out. This substation will allow us to maintain electrical power, especially in those areas that are very important for the health, safety, and welfare of the community. And it also takes some of the load off our current lines so that we can get more use out of our current electric system. Our gas department will be we'll be adding new lines along I-10 North. Our gas department is one of those that have been struggling for many years. We don't have a lot of gas customers in the community, so those ratepayers are paying a premium because we don't have a lot of hookups to it. So what we've decided to do is to add some lines to go along I-10 North. And this will be feeding two companies, two businesses in the area. Mission Pharmacol will be one of our big customers on this new gas line, and Albany Composite Engineering have also signed on. So we'll have two big users to help pay and expand our gas line in our utility, and to take some of the pressure and some of the costs off the residents. Those people who live in the trails of Herf Ranch, the KB development, when we made the agreement with KB, they also agreed to put in gas lines to all of their homes in the trails of Herf Ranch. So we're getting extra residential revenue from that development. Our water department, we're expanding. We're doubling the output of our water department from 1.5 million gallons per day to 3 million gallons per day. And this is to keep up with the demands that we have in our community for fresh, clean drinking water. As our population grows, the demands for water grows as well. So our water plant will be able to handle any demand that our future generations will be placing on the city for clean, safe drinking water. Wastewater department, I'm sure all of you have heard about that. It's been in the newspapers and in the talk in the coffee shops. We'll have a second wastewater treatment plant. We'll actually be operating two at the same time. It's also a recycling center. Now, I'll talk a little bit more about what a recycling center is. But our wastewater treatment plant is going to provide a lot of the services for our current ratepayers. This was not built just for Esperanza. Esperanza will be benefiting from this, and they will be paying their share for this. But the wastewater treatment plant was based on not only our needs today, but our needs for next generation, not counting Esperanza. Esperanza is only helping pay for this because they'll be a great user too. The reuse water system.